everybody, and welcome back to the Let's Learn Tech web series. I'm your host, JagerBTFM, for this one, and this is going to be episode 7, Stats and Stat Skills. And so we're going to learn how they actually play into your combat roles. I'm going to warn you right now, it's going to involve a spreadsheet. I know a lot of people hate spreadsheets. I used to hate them a lot. I've actually found I kind of enjoy making them, and to me it's just like a little discovery of how to figure out how to make the formulas do what I want them to do. But I'm also a nerd, so I mean, it is what it is. But as you can see, we're still hitting the dummy and the ludus. I stood up from the bunker room, I walked down here, and we're going to do that. So let's go on and learn about our stats and what they mean. So in order to do this, I'm actually going to go to the wiki and show you what's there, and then I'm going to show you the spreadsheet to make it a little bit easier. But if you come down to the Getting Started section on the left-hand side of the wiki, you're going to see General Roles, Character Creation, and Guides. You want to click on Character Creation, and then go down to Stats. So this covers your attributes, and it's going to show you what each one of your attributes does. Again, I highly suggest you read through it and get an understanding of what each one of your stats actually does for you. I gave you the advice in the tutorial to basically play around for a little bit in tech, and then if you want to keep your character cool, if not, re-roll them and see what you're getting for your stats, because I'll be honest with you, at lower rank levels, stats are more important than ranks in your skill. And I will show you why. However, first we need to look at a spreadsheet, so let's get that out of the way. Here's a spreadsheet that I made in order to let people know what their stats are for their character. In tech, actually let me go back here. So let's look at, let me stop the script. Let's look at our stats. So you can see here, my stats are also called attributes. It's the same thing. It's just we call them stats because it's shorter. But your stats are agility, charisma, empathy, judgment, perception, speed, willpower, appearance, dexterity, endurance, memory, reasoning, and strength. The ones that play into combat are agility, perception, speed, dexterity, endurance, strength, willpower, and empathy, but not in the way that you think, which I'm about to show you. So we have, you remember from the last video when we covered combat, in the combat overview, I said that you had an offensive score and a defensive score, and that was a combination of the points that you get from your ranks and your skills plus your natural 2 hit or 2 dodge calculation, which it's just what I call it. Some people call it other stuff, but if you look down here, your 2 hit bonus is capped at 200, and your 2 dodge bonus is capped at 150. So if your skill points give you, or your skill ranks give you 50 points towards your offensive attack roll, and you have max stats, your stats will give you 200 towards that roll. So it's a very, I gotta adjust something, sorry, on my other computer. But yeah, so it will take you a while to get to 200 points in your rank bonus, especially at lower levels. But with stats, it's easy to get it fast. So this is why stats are more important, especially at lower levels. In order to figure out what your 2 hit bonus is, you're going to need to figure out what your numerical stat number is. As you can see here, there's no number in any of this, right? Oh man, I lost my window. Sorry, there was a pop-up. So as you can see here, there's no number. It's just words. The words correspond to a number range, which I'll show you how to figure out the number. But here is kind of the reference chart for what the ranges are. If the number, like let's say we have, let's pick a random number, 156. I would look down here and see 156 is between 151 and 165, so that my modifier, the wording on my character sheet would be very good. In order to figure out what the numerical number of your stats are, you can do it very easily for your endurance. Your numerical value for your endurance is the number of hit points that you have. So for me, on What'd I name this guy? Frithinantis. Frithinantis. I have 148 hit points, which means my endurance score is 148. Now, endurance only plays into two things. It plays into your hit point number and your fatigue recovery and fatigue drain. So the higher endurance you have, the lower your fatigue, the less your fatigue drains, and the more fatigue you get back as you're resting, it seems. So you want high endurance. It just lets you train longer. You'll hear people talk about like skill points per fatigue bar. What that means is if they go somewhere to train and they run themselves down to 0 fatigue, how much SP did they get? If they have higher endurance, it'll take longer, which means they can spend more time training, less time resting. Your strength plays into how much you can carry and what your maximum load is. For some weapons, it calculates into their 2 hit bonus. I know two-handed axes are that way. I'm not sure how of the other ones. But for our intents and purposes and basics, we're not counting strength in our 2 hit bonus. It's just going to be 3 other skills, which we'll get to now. So for the 2 hit bonus, it is a maximum of 200, and the way you arrive at that is you take your numerical score for your dexterity and divide it by 2. You take your numerical score for your perception and divide it by 4, and your numerical score for empathy and divide that by 4. Add them all together. That gives you your 2 hit bonus. Like I said, if you have max stats, you're going to be at 200. Because you'll get 100 from dexterity, 10 from perception, 10 from empathy. For your dodge, you take half of your agility. Let's see here, let's get them up there. So you take half of your agility, and then you take a fourth of your speed, and you add them together. Again, max stats, you would be at 150. In order to find your numerical stat numbers, you have to be a premium member. And it's not, once you become a premium member, it unlocks it on your character sheet. You basically do like a little backdoor way of figuring out what your stat numbers are. So what you want to do is, I'm not sure. The reason is because you have to spend story points to increase them, because the 2 ways you can raise stats in the game is you can spend, well, let me back up. Everybody starts with 10 attribute potential in the game in their stats. So what that means is if you start the game at 100 strength, you actually have 10 raises and can go up to 110 if you run the courses, which we're going to get to later. I'm not going to do that today. Absolutely not doing that today. But you can raise all of your stats 10 points from what you start at. So what you want to do is you want to go, before you do this part, you want to go run the courses, which I did this a little backwards, but for those who are premium, they can see it now. So what you want to do is you want to go into the play menu if you're premium, or you might be able to do it on your trial account. I'm not sure. But you go into the play menu and select option P, which is spend story points. Then you're going to pick option 2, which is attribute increase. Don't worry, you're not going to spend any of your story points. It's perfectly fine. Then you're going to select the character that you want to raise, and then you pick the stat using the letter code. Okay? And that is going to give you, I'm not on a trial account, so I can't do it on this guy anymore. I wish I could show you, but I can't. And then it's going to tell you, like, you can raise your character's potential X amount of times, and then underneath that, it'll say, like, you know, using your story points, you can raise it X or Y number of times. So let's say your guy was 100. It would say that, you know, you still have 100 increases for this stat. Your story points will allow you to buy 2 increases. Do you want to increase? You type no, and then or N or X or whatever you want. But you remember that number of how many increases that you could have gotten. And then that number minus 200 is what your stat number is. So if it tells you 50, you have 150 points in that stat. Okay? That's how you get to your numerical stats. Okay? It's really good to know that at lower levels. It's very important to have better stats, it's not as important to know what your stat numbers are. But the reason that I'm telling you about stats is because there's a way to use skills that you can learn in the game to augment your stat numbers. It basically makes them appear bigger than what they actually are on your stat sheet. And that's what we're going to get into now. So we went here, we looked at all of our stats, and I'm going to come over and show you offense. For clubs, where are they? One-handed crushing. So I'm going to do that one, and then I'll show you the defensive stat skills. So anytime you take combat skills, you always want to take a weapon and combat maneuvers. Your weapon is attacks and blocks. Combat maneuvers is dodges and other useful things for combat. So we're in one-handed, pardon me, we're in one-handed clubs. These are all the different things I can learn, which I will get to them later. But the two I want to look at here are accuracy and grip. And then for combat maneuvers, again, these are all the different things you can learn. Good block or good dodges that are in there. Fallback is a very good one. Killing blow, you want at least one rank in that so that you can actually kill your the things that you're hunting or fighting. And then footwork and reflexes are what we're looking at. So here is, can you see both? Yep. Okay. So club accuracy and club grip, it's a very hefty skill point investment, but it's worth it. Accuracy will raise your perception to low-end great. And then grip will raise your dexterity to low-end great as well. What does low-end great mean? Well, if you look on the chart, low-end great, here's great, low-end is 166. So for instance, let's say that my character only has 100 points in dexterity, right? So he's, aside from anything else, we're looking at our 2 hit bonus. And we're going to put 100 here. Whoops. And just for showing you, I'm just going to put, oh wait. Let me just do this. So basically all we're doing is looking at our dexterity. My 2 hit bonus that I get from just my dexterity is 50 when I'm at 100 skill or stat points in that stat. What this skill does is for combat purposes only. So not non-coms, not anything else. It's just for your combat action rolls. If you get to Grandmaster in that skill, which is 90 ranks, again, very big SP investment, but absolutely worth it. If you get to 90 ranks, it makes your combat dexterity roll 166 when you're using that weapon. So what that would do is it basically takes me from having 100 increases. Now, this is all for calculation. You still have 100 increases on your character. But it makes it 166, which now gives me 83 points added to my offensive roll. For perception, remember, it does the same thing. So let's say I had 100 in perception as well, and 100 in empathy, and 100 in dexterity. My total 2 hit bonus would be 100, which isn't bad, but it's not great. I'm halfway to the other one. But if I raise those 2 stat skills, which are accuracy and grip in my weapon, what that does is it makes these look like, for those purposes, they're 166. So it basically makes that as if I had 166 in both. You see that my 2 hit bonus is now 149.5. That's why these stat skills are so important. And when you're at the Ludus, a lot of people tell you before you graduate the top end of the Ludus, which is the northern part, or have accumulated 750 total combat ranks, which I'll show you when we get back to TCR, they tell you make sure you max your stat skills if you need them. Now, if you look at your stat sheet and it says that you have, if you already have great or higher of any of the combats, of any of the skills that can be augmented by, if you have, I am so tongue-tied. If you have great or higher on any of the stats that are associated with stat skills, which is perception for accuracy, dexterity is grip, For combat maneuvers, footwork is agility, reflexes is speed. If you have grade or higher, you don't need to learn that stat skill. You already have the most points from it. Learning that skill would do absolutely nothing for you. So we're going to look at speed here and do the same thing. So speed and agility are 100. My 2 dodge bonus is 75. If I crank those skills out and see what it looks like, now I'm at 124.5. Almost a 50-point jump just for leveling up those skills. Now, later on down the road, because everybody likes to improve their character, you can raise your stats by buying potential increases with role points. It's 1,000 role points for 10 potential increases. What that means is, let's say you jack your strength up, you put all 10 potential in strength. You have to go run the courses and successfully complete them 10 times, because each completion will give you 1 potential increase if one is available for the stats associated with that course. We'll cover that more in depth when we get to the courses. The courses are a very boring thing. You'll absolutely want to kiss Thrice Blinded for making the tech extender when you have to run the courses, because it takes all of the annoyance out of it. Basically, just run it, watch a YouTube video, keep an eye on the screen, and make sure nothing's going wrong. But for us, the other good thing is now you can unlearn skills. So let's say you eventually max your stats and you don't want to know footwork and reflexes anymore. You can kind of sell back those ranks, and you get partial credit returned to you for the SP that you spent on them. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. So my main character, Jaegerus, he keeps all of the stat skills that he ever learned in swords and combat maneuvers, because it's so that somebody can teach them to the new arrivals. So if you need ranks in accuracy or grip for swords, or footwork and reflexes and combat maneuvers, seek out Jaegerus. He'll teach you. Not a problem. Most people kind of know him, because maxing your stats is one of those like far down the road things. Usually after 2 or 3 years, people start looking at that. For buying potential increases, I always recommend do your strength and endurance first at the courses with your RPs, because you can always learn these skills with your SPs to kind of offset that. There's no stat skills for strength and endurance, so you're better off just learning using your increases that you get for them. If you're a paid member, you get perks every month, and one of the perks is half off stats for 5 increases. So you basically pay 250 role points and you get 5 increases that you can put in whatever stat you want. But that is pretty much it for stat skills. I showed you how the stat skills actually make your total defensive score and then your total offensive score a lot better. And like I said, it's one of those things that unless somebody taught it to you, you really wouldn't think about it. But stats are more important at lower levels. So crank those stat skills up. Grip and accuracy for the weapon, and then footwork and reflexes for your combat maneuvers. Crank those up every time you get your like, let's say you're leveling your basics up to 20, get those up to 20, and then keep raising them with your basics as much as you can. It'll make a huge difference in your combat. For learning, though, the first thing to do is get your 5-move rotation. Okay, so get your 5-move rotation, get it to the point that you can hit things. And then once you're solid in that, you want to work on what's called your homework ranks. Your homework ranks are those stat skills to get them up. Only if you're great or only if you're less than great in any of those associated stats. Remember, if you're great or higher, there's no need to learn it. So if you got a lucky roll on character creation, good job. I don't think I did for any. Nope, I'm not great on anything, so I will have to pump them with this guy. But that covers stats and stat skills. If you have any more questions about it, please feel free to post them down in the comments, or you can pop them in any of the Discords that I'm a member of, either the Tech Main or the stream itself. I have my own Jaeger BTFM stream. You can pop them in there. Read through the wiki. Again, good source of information. It'll it'll answer a lot of your questions. But if you have any left over, you can always DM me, post it anywhere, and we will get back to it as soon as possible. Also, if you have any suggestions for future videos you would like to see, please list them in the comments or send them to me directly, and I'll try to make a video covering that topic when it's appropriate in the time frame. So until then, keep playing tech, keep having fun, and I will see you guys all later. Bye-bye.